There we go. So as Tom mentioned, my name is Troy Pfeffer. I am the Intelligence Director at Cintas Corporation. For those of you that don't know, Cintas is a US-based, multinational, B2B service provider. We're the world's largest uniform company. So any type of uniform that you can wear to work, we can do it. The next time you go to Starbucks, that green apron, Cintas product. Next time the UPS driver delivers something, the brown uniform, Cintas product. Any hotel you check into, the person at the front desk, Cintas uniform. Exactly. So we provide the stuff that businesses need, but they don't want to do themselves. Uniforms, we do things like fire suppression systems, fire extinguishers, first aid cabinets, all the stuff that a business needs to operate. Literally, every business on this planet could be a Cintas customer. So we provide a lot of different services. So with that said, we have a lot of different customers, a lot of different competitors that are unrelated to each other. So my role as Intelligence Director began 10 years ago. 10 years ago, the head of strategic planning came to me and said, the board of directors wants an intelligence function, go set one up. I did a quick Google search of what competitive intelligence was. I had no idea what it was. So thus began the journey of our intelligence function at Cintas. 10 years ago, it was one person with no money. 10 years later, it is one person with some money. And that is by design. You can't have a world-class intelligence function with just one person, and I'm going to tell you how to do that. I'm going to give you details on how one person can change a company. And believe me, we have changed Cintas. We have sold off major business units. We have acquired new business units. We have gone into new international geographies, all because of Cintas Intelligence. So one of the most fundamental components of Cintas Intelligence is what I call our network. We have an intelligence network within our company. Even though I am just one person, I literally have tens of thousands of collectors. I have thousands of analysts at my disposal, all within our organization. I can call on them in an instant, and I can get first, second, third level analysis, all within that network. And I want to tell you how we began that process. So that's a little detail on Cintas itself. So this is where Cintas Intelligence is today. Again, Cintas is a multinational, primarily North America, but we do have operations in Western Europe and Southeast Asia. I provide intelligence support to every bit of it. All geographies, all business units, all functional responsibilities. If you need intelligence, I can provide it. The intelligence function itself is what I call, it's integrated. We are not centralized. We are not decentralized. There is no intelligence department at Cintas. In fact, quite frankly, I don't believe there should ever be an intelligence department. To think that a small group of people can produce the wisdom necessary for a large organization in a silo, I believe you're selling yourself short and you're selling your company short. Intelligence is across your entire organization, and I'm going to tell you how we tapped into that. So we're not centralized, we're not decentralized, we're integrated into the very fabric of the organization itself. So because of that, it is highly transparent. Everybody that has a hand in intelligence, whether direct or indirect, everybody can see what everybody is doing. Everybody can see what everybody's collecting. Everybody can see what everybody's saying and analyzing. Everybody can see the decisions that are made and then the results that come from those decisions. Very transparent. And because of that, it's extremely collaborative. We have figured out how to engage thousands of employees at Cintas in a very collaborative manner, thus enhancing the intelligence that we produce. In addition, it's extremely fluid. We can change direction quickly, almost instantly. because of the way it's structured. So there are three fundamental components to this infrastructure, to our infrastructure that I'm going to talk about. So three components. We're going to go into some detail with that. All right. These are the 6 steps that we took to get to where we are today. And I'm going to go through each of these 6 steps. Each of them are critical. Obviously, you don't begin by having a robust intelligence function with one person. You have to work to build the foundation that ends up to what you have here. So I'm going to go in detail of these 6 steps. Now, I'm going to share a disclaimer, almost a challenge. This is a challenge for all of you. I've been to conferences like this before, and there are times when I hear attendees say, I didn't get anything out of that presentation. His company's nowhere near mine. His company's very different. I'm in a highly regulated industry. I can't talk to salespeople. The executives won't listen to me. You know what? That's fair. But what you were hired to do is to figure out how to apply these nuggets of wisdom that we're receiving at this conference, figure it out and apply it to your company, right? So as I go through each of these 6 steps, I want you to personalize this. I'll tell you what we did at Cintas, and I'll tell you why I did it. So your challenge is to figure out how to do it within your organization, right? We don't operate in a vacuum. We're all different, many variables. So that's my challenge, right? All right, so let's begin with the first one. First, what I call a framework. Now again, I was asked 10 years ago to create an intelligence function. Not only that, the request was a board directive. The board of directors was behind me. They wanted me to set up an intelligence function. Obviously, at the time, I had visions of being a strategic genius at Cintas. That's where I wanted to play right away. I was going to provide direction for our organization over the next 3, 5, 10 years. But in looking around the organization, I knew I couldn't do that. Even though there might have been some that wanted me to, I could not do that. Because in a brand new function, imagine somebody coming to you, your boss or your boss's boss, and saying, Troy, what are you doing? Come back and see me in 3 years. I'll show you what I did. It just didn't work. You can't do that. So no matter where you think you should be playing, you got to figure out where you really should be playing based upon your organization. So what I did was simply these 4 things. So I took a look at Cintas, and I quickly understood that the place where I needed to start was sales. Sales is king at Cintas. If you can show that you produce revenue, you get all kinds of attention. You get all kinds of resources. You get all kinds of engagement. So sales was where it's at. It's not where I wanted to be. I wanted to be in the executive suite. But I knew the quickest way to get there would be to help sales, right? That's where I had to start. All right, so that was my initial focus. All right, what's that second one? Capture. I mentioned this earlier. In every one of your organizations, there is incredible intelligence happening and you don't even know it. You don't even know it. So the key is capturing that intelligence that's happening. Not only capturing it, but connecting it. And when I looked into the sales organization, just like any of your salespeople, the best salespeople are doing intelligence, right? Think about it. They want this person as a customer. This guy over here is competing for the same customer. He has to figure out what he's going to do to get her, and I got to do the same thing so I can beat him. That's intelligence, right? So what I simply did was I went to our sales leadership and I said, we've got 5,000 salespeople in this organization. I want to know the 25 best salespeople. Who are they? I don't care where they are. I don't care what business unit they're in. Who are they? So I got the list, went out and talked to them. Why are you so good? What are you doing? Right? In human nature, they just start talking, right? Somebody from the ivory tower comes out and recognizes them. So I started capturing those pockets of intelligence that were already happening. Not only capturing it, but starting to connect it. This great salesperson, meet this great salesperson. Share ideas, you become even greater salespeople. So I helped elevate the best of the best at Cintas within sales. Capture. Establish. Establish was bringing those elements together, right? And at the very beginning, remember, one guy, no money. Bringing it together was simply an email distribution list. That's all I did. It was me and 25 salespeople. So we started talking. We started chatting. We started sharing best practices. We started sharing intelligence, right? One mistake I often see intelligence professionals make is they claim their intelligence is that fancy website that I have. Never allow that to define your intelligence function. That's a tool, but it should never be the focus. So we didn't even have a tool. But what we started to create is a foundation of true intelligence, gathering, sharing, acting, decisions, all of that. And then finally, kickstart. Not only did those 25 people form the early start, the very beginning of our network, they became viral elements. Imagine you're one of the best salespeople at Cintas. You talk to other salespeople, and you say, hey, this guy from corporate, he came out and shared some stuff with me. I'm selling even more. What do you think every salesperson wants now? What do you think all 5,000 salespeople want? They want to be a part of this network. That guy, that intelligence guy, he's going to make me more money. So the 25 was the foundation. They became the viral element to help spread this through our organization, through our company. So, step number one, establish a framework. Cintas, it was sales. You have to figure out where it is in your company. Okay? Let's go to step two. So I've got the framework. Now I have to build an infrastructure. And I mentioned the three elements. These three elements are the infrastructure of Cintas Intelligence. Three things: a process, a platform, and a network. First, the process. What I did not do is say, listen, I am a trained intelligence person. We will start with kits, kicks, KIFs, or whatever key intelligence stuff. I don't do that. I think that's silly. When I talked to these 25 people, they were doing those four things. They were collecting information. They were analyzing it. They were making decisions, and they were acting on it. By doing it this way, we removed that stigma of intelligence. Oh, that's something people at corporate do. No, it's what everybody does. I don't care what job you're in, you collect, you analyze, you decide, and you act. Everybody does that. So we came up with a very flexible process as that first component. Flexible is the key. Not only in the steps, but who performs those steps. You might be a collector one day, but then the very next day you might be an analyst. You're not siloed into a specific role. You are a collector. That's all you do. That doesn't happen. You could do any of those four things based upon the request or task at hand. Okay? So that was the first thing, the process. That's the first element. The second then was a platform. Now I mentioned we had email distribution list, right? Well, that only lasted so long. We had to develop something a little bit more robust. So from email, we went to a SharePoint site. Short period of time. Then from a SharePoint, we went to specific intelligence-specific websites. Cintas is not a tech company, right? We do shirts and pants. We do fire extinguishers. We're not a tech company. So we're not going to try to design something ourselves. So I went out into the marketplace and I picked one. And you see a screenshot of our platform. It is a website that's hosted and managed by our intelligence partner firm. And they take care of all that. That platform is where everything occurs. Those 4 steps all happen within the realm of that platform, that centralized platform. And then finally, the third element of our infrastructure. And in my opinion, it is the most important thing, and that is our network. And I'm going to go into detail of how we went from 25 to 42,000 members of our network. So that's the third piece of our intelligence infrastructure. All right, so our network. This is what our network looks like today. Our intelligence network has 5 components. 1 is external, the other 4 are internal. So the CI director, that's me. 1 person, that's it. Again, 1 person 10 years ago, 1 person today, and by golly, it's going to be 1 person 10 years from now, because it just works. And plus, I don't like managing people. I don't want to deal with that headache. So, CI director, that's me. Across to the right, Cintas, it's a little bit higher now. We're up about 45,000. We have 45,000 employees. 45,000. Each and every one of them can participate in the intelligence function. And believe me, a lot do. A lot of them do, and I'm going to tell you how that happens. In addition to the 40,000 plus, we have 2,000 what we call intelligence leaders. These are the individuals that have a very direct hand in the intelligence function. They do a lot of activity relative to all the intelligence work that is happening within our company. From there, we have 6 C-level executives. The highest executives at Cintas are directly involved in the intelligence function. In fact, that's where I spend probably 95% of my time today, is working with our C-level executives. And then finally, the remaining component is the external piece, and that's our CI vendor. They play an important role in our network. So again, a visual of where we are today with the network. So let's talk about how the network was built. So again, when you look at this, there really are 3 important components: the employees, the leaders, and the executives. Those were the 3 internal groups that I had to establish within our network. So this is how we did it. Starting at the bottom, the 40,000 plus employees. The outcome was simple awareness. I wanted them to be aware of Cintas Intelligence. I wanted them to be aware to the point that they knew what it was, they knew how they could participate, they knew what they could get out of it, right? So to get awareness, I did some marketing. If you're not marketing your function internally, then you're skipping a big step that you could be growing your intelligence function. You should be marketing your function internally. So that's the employees. So working up, the leaders, they were the most important at this time. Again, the leaders began with 25. 2 years later, it was about 1,000. Another 2 years after that, 1,500. Another year after that, up to 2,000. So it grew over time. So with them, I wanted full engagement in every step of the intelligence process. I wanted full engagement. So I did 3 things with them. We identified champions. I went on a road show, and we did branding. Let's start with branding. You can see my brand in the very upper right. It's not fancy. Cintas Intelligence, CI. That's what CI is at Cintas. So we did branding. Everything I produce, or everything the network produces, has the brand on it. So branding is very important. Roadshow. So Cintas is it's a mid-sized company. We're about $7 billion in revenue. And again, we have offices all over the globe, mostly North America. So early on, 10 years ago, I went on the road. Anytime there was a group meeting, whether it was this size or bigger, I got on the agenda. Now, at the beginning, I used that board directive feather, right? Hey, you're having a meeting? I need to be there because I have a board directive to share, right? I go, okay, we'll put you on the agenda. So by doing so, I was able to get engagement with the people that were in the audience. You got to do face-to-face. If you're going to really engage people, you have to do face-to-face. So I went on the road for 18 months. I traveled a lot for a year and a half because I knew I was building a foundation, right, and getting these people engaged. And then finally, in the middle section with the champions. The 25 were my first champions. They continued to be champions for the first couple years. As this intelligence network and as intelligence grew at Cintas, their sales kept going up and up and up. So they were incredible viral elements within our company. We labeled them as our intelligence champions. And they loved that role. They loved being called an intelligence champion. And they were extremely active in that role as well. And then finally, the executives. Now, the executives, I wanted complete buy-in, right? That board directive couldn't. Yeah, you can ask. That's a good idea. Ask questions throughout.
Just a question on the intelligence leaders piece and getting their full engagement. You said a lot of these other folks were salespeople, and like their full engagement, how much of their role would that be? Is it 25% of their job? You think their capacity they were dedicated to this, or is it a bigger part, or?
You know, it depends. It really depends. At the very beginning, it wasn't a whole lot, right? Because if you go back to the process itself, collect, analyze, decide, and act, they're already doing that, right? That's why they're the best salespeople. So all I asked them to do is to share what they were already doing, right? That gets them in the habit of sharing. Now, with this platform that we have, and I'm going to show you some other tools that we've developed, like an app, a dedicated email address, now it's very easy to engage. So on a percent basis, it's very little. And that's a great question because what you don't want to do at the beginning is to make it difficult to participate, right? You don't want to do that because you won't get participation. You want to make it easy for them. Even if it's difficult for you, you make it easy for them. And they will engage. Okay, so the executives. I wanted them to buy into this idea of what we were creating. They also thought that I was going to create an intelligence department because that's the traditional way of doing things in corporate America, right? You have a responsibility, you create a department. This is unheard of. You mean you're going to leverage all of our employees to produce what you need to produce? Yeah. And here's how I'm going to do it. So buy-in happened with an early win. We hear about this you hear quick wins, right? You hear that all the time. I'll give you the example of ours. Cintas is #1 in the marketplace, by far. We're a big company in the uniform industry. But the #2 at the time was taking market share from us. We are a premium provider. #2 was a low-cost provider. And they were just taking share, and we're wringing our hands. We have to lower our price. What are they doing? They're commoditizing the business, right? That's what the executives were doing. So I thought, you know what? Let's really find out what they're doing. I went back to my 25 salespeople. I said, what are they doing? And the 25 salespeople had the answer like that. They simply come in low. Over time, they add ancillary charges to bring the program up to a profitable level. So by the time that happens, they're the same price or more than us. Okay, great. Go to the executives. Here's what's happening. Executives are like, that's awesome. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to attack this company. And we did. So that was the early win at Cintas. Again, it's all about sales in our company. May not be with yours. So the key is figure out where you're going to do it in your company and how you're going to get the executives' attention and buy-in. Okay, so that was step 3. So we've got this network in place. We've got roles defined loosely. We've got people identified. Now we have to produce, right? We got to start producing. So step 4, you got to generate intelligence. You got to produce intelligence. So this is how we do it. Now remember, again, 10 years ago, I was not doing scenario planning. I was not doing wargaming. I was not doing any of that strategic stuff. I wasn't doing that because that wasn't the need at the time, and that's not where I would get full engagement. So it was all about how to win more business, right? How to win more business. And not only that, but I knew I had to create something that over time would be able to self-fulfill the vast majority of all tactical and operational intelligence needs. Today, there's all kind of intelligence activity that's happening within our platform by the network that I'm not involved in at all. Probably 95+% of all intelligence work, I don't have a hand in it because it's being fulfilled by the network in its entirety. Right? So here's how it works. Again, the 45,000 employees, what is their focus? Their focus is simply gathering information. I promise you, next time, now that you know a person that works at Cintas, you're going to see our trucks everywhere. We have a massive fleet of white trucks with Cintas on the side. You're going to see them everywhere. So those drivers, those service people, they send in all kinds of incredible information on a daily basis. And they do so through the intelligence app. We designed internally an app. And all that app does is quick capture of information. That's it. It's not a window to our portal. It's just the quick capture. And then we made a game out of it. See if it can reach agent level 4. Gamified it a bit. So they find information, use the app, it goes to our vendor. Our vendor then vets that information. Maybe they got to clean it up a little bit. They certainly tag it and categorize it appropriately. That then goes into the intelligence site. So that's what our employees do. All 45,000. They collect information, and my goodness, talk about an incredible source of information. That's the kind of stuff you can't find on Google. That's the kind of stuff you can't find in any database out there. But you know what? They find it for us. So the employees, the CI vendor, their responsibility is, just like it says, collect and synthesize information. Not only are they synthesizing the internal flow of information that's coming in, they monitor the public space. Gave them a long list of stuff to watch for. They watch for that, they get it, they put it into the intelligence site. Our leaders, what do? They analyze. They see all this information that's coming in from the employees. Again, it's very transparent. Everybody can see what everybody's doing. The leaders see it. The leader might say, hey, wait a minute. That piece of information there, that's got some significance, and here's why. Somebody else sees that and says, you know what, I'm seeing it too. An executive comes in, oh my goodness, we have to do something. Here's what we're going to do. That's how it works, all within our intelligence site. And then our 6 senior level executives, what do? Engage and encourage. Here's what I mean. Imagine that you are a delivery person in Boise, Idaho, right? You just started at Cintas, and man, you want to make a name for yourself. Our employees have quickly learned that the way to do that is to submit something into the intelligence site. because within 24 hours, the top 6 executives at Cintas will see it, and they'll see who posted it, who shared that information, and they will reach out to that person. Not only does that help the employees feel good, but it helps the executives feel better connected to a vast organization, something they didn't have in the past. Right? And that's true of a lot of big companies. You get the top executives, and they feel disconnected from what happens on a day-to-day basis, right? Well, this solves that problem. So now the employees feel like they have a voice to the top. The top feels better connected to the field, all within the intelligence process and all at the same time creating intelligence. All right, so now we're producing intelligence. Now again, I'm going to keep saying this. You got to personalize. Maybe this does apply directly to you. Great, copy it. Copy it, do it. Maybe there's a little few nuggets in there that you can do. Great, do it. Maybe there's nothing. That's okay, figure it out. Figure it out because you can. All right, so we're producing intelligence. Step 5. We need what I call a portfolio, right? We just can't start producing random pieces of intelligence, just flying all over the place, right? It has to be structured. It has to be grouped. It has to be categorized. It has to work for the right audiences within the company. What the CEO needs is very different than what the sales manager in Seattle needs, right? So that's why we have a portfolio. And I've categorized our portfolio into 4 categories. Starting at the top and working back down on the left. You've heard of the what, so what, and now what, right? You've heard of that. The what is simply, hey, here's what's happening. Here's what's happening in the marketplace. And we do that daily and weekly. Not much analysis happening there, but that's okay. It's simply the what. And the deliverables on the far right, you can see what we do. Then monthly. Monthly, we take the what and we make sense of it by saying, so what? And you can see what we do on the right, the deliverables that we produce. And then quarterly and semi-annually, here's where I spend a lot of my time now. All right, we know the what, the so what, now what? What do we do? What do we do? So Cintas Intelligence today has the equity of simply saying, here's what you need to do. We don't necessarily have to say where we got the information, what our sources were. We have equity to the point where an executive can come to me and say, Troy, what do I do? I do my work, I say, here's what you do. They said, okay, I'm going to go do it. That's the now what. And then at the bottom, customized intelligence. That can be anything ad hoc as needed. So a portfolio is extremely important. A structured portfolio so that people know what to expect that comes out of this intelligence function. All right, step 5. Again, personalize. Here's the final step. You've got everything working. Everything's in place. You got to make sure it keeps working, and you have to keep it in place. What I call drive intelligence use. 4 key ingredients. Exclusivity. Today, I can go to someone and say, you haven't participated in the intelligence function in X number of days, weeks, or whatever. Either you participate or you're out. I only have to say that one time because they now know the value of being in the network. They get tremendous value by being in that network. So exclusivity is key in driving use. Ownership. Ownership is simple. If you have an intelligence request, if you come to me and say, Troy, I need some intelligence, great. You're going to be involved in the creation of it. If you want somebody to act on intelligence, you involve them in the creation of that intelligence. Ownership is fundamental. That's how you get action. Accountability. Transparency drives participation and use. We know what everybody's doing. We can tell, we have analytics that show what all 40,000 plus are doing, how they've collected, what type of stuff they've analyzed, what they're looking at, and the frequency of such. And then finally, customization. This is key. The intelligence site that we use has robust customization features. Again, what the CEO needs is very different than what a service director needs. The intelligence site can give them exactly what they want within that portfolio. So what do I do? All right? What's this one person do? These are the 4 things I do. First and foremost is I nurture my network. My network is my baby. That is my baby. I'm going to take care of that network as best as I can, because that's how intelligence gets done at Cintas. So I nurture the network. Monitor. I monitor the entire process. If I feel I need to insert myself into some intelligence activity that's happening, I will. If I feel that you need to be involved in what's happening over here, I'll say, hey, go, you need to get involved, and here's why. And they will. So monitor. Strategy. This is where I spend all my time now, because I spent my time getting this thing set up, the network, the whole process. It's self-fulfilling. Now I can focus on strategy, long-term strategy at Cintas. So now I am doing early warning. I'm doing war gaming. I'm doing scenario planning. I'm doing new market entry. I'm doing all that because all of this has been done. And then finally, innovate. Big company. I am looking for new ways to insert intelligence into our company, even to this day. Last slide. These are the key learnings that I obtained over the past 10 years. First one is obvious. Start small and be very focused on what you're going to do. Make sure that focus produces tangible results quickly, right? Small and focused. Number 2, WIFM. You know what WIFM is? What's in it for me? You have to tell people what's in it. People, what's in this for me, Troy? You want me to do this work? What am I going to get out of it? What's in it for me? You have to be able to define that element. Again, I mentioned nurture the network. And then finally, network inclusion is a privilege. If you don't participate, if you don't lend a hand, you're out. Nobody wants to be out once they're in. So that was our journey. Like I said, one person, I got money. We're producing a lot of intelligence across the board. It's a lot of fun. So one person can do it. You can do it. No matter how big you are, you can do it by doing it this way. So any questions?